Welcome to SHOWstudio's live panel discussions. In these discussions, experts from all parts of the industry discuss and debate the most important fashion weeks of the season. Today, in the midst of New York Fashion Week, we are going to be discussing LaQuan Smith. Here are our panelists, and they will introduce themselves. I am Karen Binns.
My name is Zainab Batchelor and I'm a photographer.
My name is Jamie Jarvis and I'm a fashion stylist.
My name is Jay Cole, a fashion writer and new fashion features editor of Hero magazine.
As you can see, we're playing no games. I think it's a conversation that's very, very important right now in fashion. For me, what is a fashion designer and what is a fashion brand? And I guess there's been a lot of hype about LaQuan Smith. I'm just trying to understand what the hype really is about. Is it about the trend that he is portraying on the catwalk in his collections? Or is it because he is a young designer of color coming out of New York City, representing diversity in fashion? What are your views on that?
I think it's a mixture of those things. I think what he's done and what he has, he's achieved a lot. He got his first sewing machine at 13, and he's looking at this show. It's I don't know. It sounds a bit bad. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's him. It's sexy. You've got the silhouettes, the textures. It is very LaQuan Smith, but it's one of those shows where I look at it and I like it. It's I'd wear that stuff, but there's nothing groundbreaking for me in it personally.
Mm. What do you think?
I like some of the more sculptural silhouettes, and I think there are definitely pieces in there that I can see selling. It's kind of the same, I guess. It's nothing kind of majorly groundbreaking, but it ties into that question of whether it should be a brand or whether a designer. There's a very distinct kind of difference between the two. And I think it's because also his brand has been really propelled through social media and gigantic celebrity endorsements, which is cool to see. That is the way that it works now. Mm. But yeah, it's all kind of very Instagram friendly.
Yeah.
I don't think it's inherently bad.
It's sexy. It's hot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's yeah.
What are your views on this?
I think I love the pieces, but like they've said, there isn't anything that super stands out. I think it's definitely a lot muted than his previous collections. You're not seeing as much of the animal print, the leopard print, but I think there's that kind of distinguishment between what a fashion brand is and what a designer is. I think sometimes a designer is all about staying true to your authentic self, and he definitely celebrates the female form. And then you've got the contrast inside of that, where a brand its main purpose is to kind of sell money and make sure that these pieces are ready to wear. And I think they are definitely pieces that most women would wear. So I guess he's definitely hitting the nail on the head with that.
I think also with the models definitely carry this brand as well. Obviously I do love some of those pieces, but I just feel I'd love to wear that if I look like that. Mm. I don't look like that, so I know it wouldn't look as sexy on me.
Yeah.
Which I guess ties into that whole Insta thing as well. It's not just about the clothes anymore, it's about the entire packaging and the model or the influencer that you pick to wear it as well. Very much kind of plays a part in the overall sell of the piece. Mm.
It's kind of the 90s supermodel idea.
Yeah, very that.
That is that, but that's also part of his brand, and sometimes I don't think it's always a good or a bad thing, but yeah, it's definitely part of it.
I understand what all of you are saying. As someone that's been in the industry for a good over 30 years, I think right now we're in a very strange space. You had the success of Off-White, mm-hmm. which covered this girl, the urban girl that kind of wants to feel that she's might be wearing Louis Vuitton or YSL, and she doesn't really understand high fashion, but she wants to feel that she's wearing it somewhat. And I think the success of that is probably the reason why people are paying more attention to someone like LaQuan Smith. Why? Because he's supplying a demand. but let's stay true to what this really is. He's supplying a demand to the masses that are probably offended with fashion because they don't really understand it when it's at its best. It's a little bit too intellectual for them. It's a little bit too well made. It's a little bit too expensive. So it looks like what he's done is he's taken a bit of this, a bit of that. For me, I've seen about 7 collections in one that everybody else has done. You can today go into the shop and see very similar things to what you see here, but he supplies the demand of it probably being a little bit less expensive and not so fabulous, not so well made. I'm not saying that his clothes are badly made, but I'm looking at it and I know if something's not falling correctly. Unfortunately, this can determine the way the new generation of designers will be working. Will they try to come up with an aesthetic that's their own? Or will they all be a whole generation of designers calling themselves designers opposed to a clothing brand supplying the demand of the masses? This is quite scary because that means for me, it's going to become more and more about supply the demand of girls who want to just have sex when they go out after the club. I'm not mad at that girl, and I'm not mad at his hustle.
I mean, we've all
But
been
I'm
there.
looking at on any level. But I am looking at the dresses that I've seen on Revolve. I've seen this everywhere. Mind you, not everybody wants to buy a dress now that doesn't have a designer label on it.
Yeah.
That they can say, look at me, I'm wearing fashion.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think
power to LaQuan. I mean, number one, the name LaQuan, honey, he took it to as real as it needs to go. Anyone that's coming out with that type of name today already is doing something important.
Yeah.
And he is saying, yes, I am from Queens. Yes, I am a black man from Queens. Yes, this is the generation I'm coming from. My name is LaQuan. It's a very ghetto thing, unfortunately. Not unfortunately. I guess it shows a background that's just as important as anybody else's.
Yeah.
He's in a way taking ownership of it.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that he named it LaQuan Smith. What I'm not sure about is if it deserves a name on it. If it was LaQuan Smith for a name, then I can say, right, that's a brand that's supplying the demands of the current trends.
I think like what he's doing, like sex sells, and it's like it's what he's doing. I think, I do like the collection. It's a weird one. I just feel like you know, the idea of like social media and Instagram is kind of like blown fashion open to the masses as it's never done before. So like there's loads of stuff that I see now on runways, which is just which is great, still great clothing. Yeah. It's very like kind of like what would you say, like accessible or like hot.
Hello.
Hello.
As Wendy Williams would say, how you doing? Would you like to, one second, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jake Hall and I'm a fashion brand owner.
Nice one. We are just talking about the latest show from LaQuan Smith. He's a young designer from Queens, New York. He's black. And I think it's an important thing that he's a part of New York Fashion Week, showing that there are people of color that have just as much relevance in the fashion industry as anyone else, especially now that diversity is one of the biggest words that are used at the moment. Of course, we're very proud to see that someone that young can actually hold it in New York during New York Fashion Week, because New York, of course, is a very powerful city. It's a city that spends a lot of money and makes a lot of money. I'm just wondering if this is the way forward for someone to put their name on a brand, but more or less is more of a trend brand opposed to a designer luxury brand. And these are the questions I'm trying to get answered.
I wonder if maybe part of it ties into the whole thing about the fashion education system as well.
Yes.
Because it's like, if you're a designer, you kind of have to come into the business thinking of commerce straight away.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if you do kind of have a few years to experiment without any real, there are obviously boundaries in terms of like a project, but you're encouraged to push things that aren't necessarily like commercially viable. You're encouraged to really like build, I guess, a more kind of like progressive or avant-garde aesthetic.
He didn't go to fashion school, did he?
No, he's self-taught.
Yeah. Which I think is great. I think like the
Yeah, it's
story,
incredible.
like his story is amazing, and I think like he's achieved a lot. Like his first show at Fashion Week was like 21.
I mean, this walk,
showcasing.
okay, you know what I mean? Like every girl wants to come through like that. Every girl wants to press through in the club. Every girl wants to say, this is me in the video. Learn it, know it. You know, we understand all that.
Yeah.
But when you start breaking down the collection itself and looking at it, that jacket, that dress, that trouser, that top, you can find it right now.
Yeah.
Pretty much on the shelves. It just doesn't have that cool name attached to it. So, you know, 10, 10, 10 for being very clever. 10, 10, 10 for knowing how to present your collection. Evidently, he has a very slick stylist and a very good casting.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much, you can put anything on a hot girl and it will sell.
Yeah. His aesthetics, like he's got it to a T. Like he knows what he's doing in terms of like, you know, the brand that he's putting out there.
It's business savvy as well. Like it's like you said, like it kind of like it is guaranteed to sell because like his whole bread and butter is like Instagram and like social media. So I guess that's maybe what I thought more in terms of like if you are coming into it fresh, if you are coming into it self-taught, and you know you need to carve out a lane, it is kind of like the most profitable, also probably the most viable way to do it now. Is to kind of like leverage Instagram and stuff, and you know work with like influencers and get your brand out that way, so people buy into like the package of the brand rather than the clothes themselves.
And that's interesting because sometimes people take the safer route, which is like this. Give them the things they want, give it to them for a slightly lesser price, put my name on it, make them feel fierce if they're wearing fashion, and maybe later I can really pull out what I really want to do. Now, I see great potential. I just think he might need a little bit help in the design team. Because after a while, it will run thin if you're giving clothes on the catwalk that you see on Paris the season before. I'm just keeping it real. And another thing is, with fashion now, especially I think maybe coming from New York, they kind of like to praise the designer that's not as competitive. This is why I am afraid of this sort of thing, because the really intensely talented that can still deliver a commercial enough collection doesn't get a look in, because if they do, they become the real competition. And that for me is my fear, because it stifles the other type of designer that can still sell just enough, if not more, to survive, to exist, and to supply the demand of consumers that are a lot more in touch with what's going on and a lot more aware of where fashion needs to go. Not just supplying the Cardi B consumer. And I can understand it because Cardi B killed it. She wiped the floor with Fashion Nova. But it's Fashion Nova. Let's keep it cute. She's not saying, oh my God, I'm Cardi B and I'm this incredible designer. She's like, I'm gonna give you looks that you know you want for the right price with my name on it. That's fierce. But this can be slightly scary. We have a whole new time now, we're in 2020, to try and develop the new aesthetics that need to come out for women as well. We can be sexy, but we can still be smart too. We can still have a more international approach. We don't all have to have a mini dress to be hot. Just saying. But you know, what are your views on that?
So I was thinking like when I look at like his stuff as well, and like going off what you were saying, like as a stylist, I find it interesting that I look at it and I feel like if I look like that, I'd love to wear that outfit. Like it, you know, it's sexy. I want to feel hot, but like I don't look at it and think I want to put it in a editorial.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like, but it's like I don't think that because I think that I don't think that it's like bad fashion. It's still good. Like I'm feeling something about it, but I don't want to put it in an editorial.
It's like incredibly referential there. Like even some of the kind of the key pieces, like the leopard print catsuit, we saw it with Mugler when Nicola was there.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not things that are new. Even like some of the silhouettes are like extremely Saint Laurent. Kind of like it's very much.
Yeah, that's like the Mugler.
Yeah, like Mugler and
Yeah.
Nicola.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it kind of is quite referential. Maybe that ties into what you said about that kind of like individual design voice kind of taking a few seasons to really come through.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also interesting that he puts men in the show as well.
Yeah.
It's the man you want to be, it's the woman you want to be, but not every day, all day.
Yeah.
Which is fine, which is more than okay. It's just, I'm just a bit weary about the fact that I could see that bodysuit already in Wolford. I see these things. I think we have a responsibility now, especially if we're calling ourselves real artists, to try and come up with something that's a little bit more personal. I mean, what do you think?
I think I've been following him for a long time now, so he caught my attention through Instagram, and I respect that side of it as a business. I created my brand through Instagram, so he's got that side, and also he's got the catwalk side of it that I've not dabbled with at all. So I respect how professional he is with it, and
Yes, you're very, yeah.
And I respect that it's a little bit different to what he's done before, I suppose, with less colour, but the shapes and the styles are similar. Maybe that's part of the business plan to sell.
Yes.
Make sure he gets his sell through. And for me, I think that's a big part of business as well. I understand that you have to create new styles and things constantly, but I suppose it is part of business too, and a creative to understand his customer.
I mean, I love the denim thing that he did. I thought that was very clever. To me, I saw a lot more promise in that. I saw him doing things that were a little bit more risky. Not that we haven't seen denim stretch, but he did it in a way that reflected a much more cooler urban fashion customer. And I quite like that. And I think he probably has a lot to say, and he could be told, look, we have to sell. Make a black collection, regardless. Give everybody everything they want now. And that can really be disheartening for a designer too, because I remember Lee McQueen saying something to me one day backstage after a show, and he said, these people don't realize how hard we work, and they just want to put us in one box. And that's the kind of thing that can also destroy it. So hopefully, this will definitely put him on track financially, but I'm interested to see what he does after this. But it is a very smart move. Everything will sell, but it will not change or inspire a new generation towards a way of being a lot more authentic as a designer. I remember from the 80s, there's a designer called Patrick Kelly. And Patrick Kelly was one of the first black designers that hit Paris. And what he did is he did body-conscious things. Everything was sexy. People either liked it or didn't like it, but it still belonged to him. It wasn't borrowed from Montana, or borrowed from Versace, or borrowed from here and borrowed from there. It was his own depth of aesthetic. He was from the South, and he celebrated the fact that even though we come from slaves, we're going to take that and switch the game up and make it a more positive message. These are things, as designers right now, they have also a responsibility to do. And that is to inspire, that is to lift, and that is to push forward to creating something just a little bit new and a lot more personal.
Yeah, it ties into like what you're saying about kind of like Off-White also kind of like opening the gateway for this, but even just kind of like opening the gateway for black designers to really kind of like make a statement. So it's like, I think maybe it could be a good thing in the sense that just him being out there and him being visible and him kind of killing it will still inspire other people.
Yeah, he's still
especially not being
killing it.
self-taught. Like,
Do you feel that, I mean, I'm feeling it, but I'm not so sure. Like that shot of Rihanna. Hello.
That's an iconic shot. Like,
Okay. Like,
I feel like
who doesn't want to be this chick?
It is Rihanna. Like,
Everybody wants, but it's Rihanna.
yeah, that's why. And like, I feel like when I was saying before about like, me wanting to wear it and maybe not put an editorial, like I work with music artists, and I definitely, if I was dressing an artist, I wanted them to look sexy and hot for an event, I would definitely use, like, I still think his pieces are good for those kind of things, but like in terms of putting it in like that is like a fashion editorial, but you know what I mean? It's not like a.
Rihanna has
If you look at like a Tim Walker shoot, like I can't imagine LaQuan Smith in a Tim Walker shoot. Is what I mean. Like,
Because it's
like,
such a distinctive,
Not everything's for everyone.
Yeah. And
Everything's for
I think what he does well in that lane for sure.
I do feel that there's a leg up from the fact that he did work with Tom Ford.
Yeah.
And I do see the cleanness and the slickness of the presentation. He's good looking. He is almost giving us what Tom Ford gives you, which is you buy into Tom Ford when you see him.
Yeah.
You see him, he represents sexiness and power and elegance.
Yeah, and he's
Very inspiring.
And with the connection with Tom Ford, I do enjoy that it's a brother that's giving me the same feeling.
Yeah.
At such a young age, and he's from Queens. So if even that alone can be inspiring for young people to know that they can take it there no matter what neighborhood they're from. That's brilliant, because Tom Ford is not from Queens.
No.
I think that's the message, right? To inspire young kids from East London, New York, wherever it may be. And I think that's the inspiring message that I get from him, and how well he's done just from that background alone. So I really respect that. I'm very inspired by his work when I look at it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yep.
And you're from what part of London?
East London, Bethnal Green.
How you doing? That's what's good. No, but it's interesting because it's a positive side to it, but it can also be an extreme negative side, which is, do we want to churn out more and more designers that are doing the actual same collections on the catwalk? That's what's scary. And that can stifle creativity back.
It ties back into what you were saying, I guess, about kind of like the designers that have like the real, like, directional, like, real kind of like pushing it way of thinking don't tend to be the ones that make it big.
Yeah.
Because that stuff can't sell. It's like when you look at the designers that like, made like, art, like McQueen and stuff. It's like, those the brands like that do it often like hemorrhage money, because like that stuff can't really sell in a shop like this can. So it's like, it's also that, balance of like becoming a successful high fashion designer, but then it's like, who's buying into it? If you're making these crazy out there pieces, which we like, as people that work in fashion love to see, it would be hard to make a career and a living out of it unless you're a rich kid, which 100%. They usually are. Like, a lot of designers are these like, rich kids. With,
And
like,
people do
money
like
from mummy and daddy that can do that, and it's like, but then it just stifles like the people like that, the poorer designers that don't have the money to churn out these kind of collections.
And people do kind of like distort the history a lot. Say if it's like, for example, McQueen like being kind of essentially bought out by Isabella Blow. Like he had a benefactor to enable him to be kind of like super avant-garde and super creative. Even like Com, for example, like when Ray came out in the 80s, she was doing stuff that was like extremely, radical.
Yeah.
But it was also like the stuff that we see now from her, which is super avant-garde, is sustained by Dover Street Market. Like it's because she has diffusion lines and she has an infrastructure to enable her to make those kind of like really sculptural, like unwearable pieces. Like you have 10 pieces in the main line and then you have an entire empire supporting it. So it's like, I do understand that designers have to sell.
Yeah.
Having a brand, I can understand that, because obviously sometimes we want to go for it and do some really cool fashion pieces, but in the end of the day, it's a business sometimes, and you have to sort of have a balance between, right, okay, I can go for it and it won't do as well, but then that leads to other problems in the business where next year you won't be able to do something else, and so it's a very fine line between. fashion,
yeah.
and business. I think it's just,
That's what I think, like, sorry, Sam.
I think I was going to say that I think it also kind of makes a comment on how quickly and fast we consume imagery and fashion.
Yeah.
It's so hard to, like, we're saying that we feel like we maybe haven't seen something new, but if we think about how many shows we have seen, let alone just this season and last, like, you see aspects of maybe, say, like British designer Charlotte Knowles, you see loads of kind of different, you see a bit of Mugler, you see other things that are repeated, but could this be maybe his kind of like interim where he's taken it away from having the super out lavish kind of animal prints from last season? This is something that we weren't expecting. It's all kind of very monochrome. Is he then going to do something completely unexpected next season? It could be, or is this just maybe the direction that he's going in?
Well, he has to make money. He has to pay the bills.
Exactly.
This is going to pay the bills completely. At the same time, is he supplying a collection that is a collection that's collectible? This to me comes into the whole conversation of sustainability. This is fast fashion. Will you wear it next season? It's number one. It's already pretty much in the stores.
Yeah.
But just not, as sharply done with the great label in the back. When you take your dress off and you show that label, you feel fierce. So, okay, he's giving you that, but is it a dress that you can sell 10 years ago? We all know Alaya, okay? We all know him very well. I mean, it's a household name. When you want to talk about a bodycon dress, you talk about Alaya.
Yeah.
You talk about cuts. You talk about line. You talk about the most amazing fabric. And you talk about it because it will last for 20 years later. Is this the designer that we're looking at today? This is a question. And this is what we need to start doing, is understanding the importance of that. Because then that is a slight answer to sustainability, to have something that you buy that you don't throw away in 2 seasons.
Yeah.
very.
Just saying.
I'd like to think there are some pieces in there that I would wear and would keep.
Yeah, I think there are, because
This is what we need to talk about.
they're classic, they're sexy, and I think that's what's important. Like earlier when we were talking about like sustainability, I was saying before like how, I don't know, I think that word's like thrown around a lot now, because like it's kind of like a buzzword that people are talking about in fashion a lot. But I feel like when people say like, is this something you're gonna like wear again or whatever, it's like, fashion's going to keep going. It's going to keep churning. It's still going to be the same amount of seasons, same amount of shows. So like whether you buy into it or not, it's going to be made and it's going to be there on the shelves. Like I don't think like the consumer, obviously like what we buy affects what goes on the catwalk and that kind of thing. And that's like a different whole scenario in itself. But like this stuff is still going to be made. It's still going to be churned out no matter what.
Thing is, like, I do kind of question it now, because like we have, for example, like Stockholm Fashion Week got cancelled entirely to kind of pursue more sustainable options, and it's like sustainability has become, it's been, people hammering the shit out of that word, like to the point where people don't even really kind of like
so I don't even know what it means anymore. It's just
and it's like sustainable. It's like you buy things and you keep them, you rewear them, you rework them, you repair them. Like that is kind of the ethos of it. But you get these like pages and pages of show notes being like, we switched to like organic cotton, and you're like, okay, cool, but like organic cotton still takes a shitload of water. Like there's always going to be like, if you get really into like the nuts and bolts of it from like a textile innovation, like there's always going to be something. There's like people are still looking for the optimum ways to do it. So it kind of like people talk about progress, but like the tech is kind of there, but like it's not like fully enough that you can have like a full, and also it costs more money and stuff like that. So from like a young designer's perspective, it's difficult to kind of like fully implement it. And because it's been talked about so much now, people are so critical of it as well, which is good.
I mean, I think he's made enough noise for us to have this conversation about him.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
That already is a feat of amazement, considering that he's making dresses that represent at least 7 different other names. And I think also fashion now has to start telling the truth. They just do. Because this is the only way we're going to open the gate to people who are going to be able to deliver something that's not in 7 other collections and still give you the sexiness, the chicness, the workmanship, and the stability that it will last, where it becomes something that you can sell on eBay and people want it because it's so good. And I'm trying to say that because I'm trying to see how he's comparing himself a little bit to Alaya.
Yeah.
How he's comparing himself to Mugler. You know, this is an important detail. Mugler, you cannot come for anything that he made 30 years ago.
Yeah.
You can't. And it'd be great to see the clothes close up. At the same time, maybe the consumer isn't really that bothered. His consumer is a consumer that doesn't really care about fashion. They just care about being fashionable in
Yeah.
a sexy way.
Because it does tie
You
into,
know, there's room for all. For all.
Yeah.
You know, there's room for all completely.
It does tie into like how we consume fashion now. I'd say it's kind of interesting though, because it's like I kind of like there've been a lot of conversations recently about like is fashion week dying. So even for example, like with the Oscars in LA, like so many brands have made a choice to not show this season, and it's like you kind of have this like bi-coastal rivalry. People are trying to figure out whether the money is like dressing the celebrities on the red carpet, or whether the money is in Fashion Week. And it's like even for London menswear, like there were no showrooms this season.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes me wonder if there is kind of like that general kind of Fashion Week fatigue kicking in, because it's people, even like editors and stuff are just like, well, yeah, I'm gonna go to like 5 shows today, like, which is fine.
I do like these photographs of different size models. I think this is really, really important.
Yeah.
Because yes, they like fashion too.
Is she the only one in the show?
Yeah, she's the only one.
Because
yeah.
the only one.
I know
There's
that-
only one.
Which
I know
baffles
he
me
talks
because
a
she
lot
looks
about
like,
diversity.
Yeah.
If
Oh,
there's
she looks
only one-
fantastic.
Yeah, I always feel like they just throw in one as like, you can't say anything now. And it's just
Yeah.
like...
yeah, because we have the one plus
not-
size model, that's it.
Yeah,
No, to be honest, he probably wanted to have more and was advised not to. So we don't know what happens behind closed doors.
It's just
No,
a
we
shame,
really
for
don't.
example, like with this being like mainly stretch fabric and stuff, it's like the kind of thing that really can adapt to any size.
Yeah.
You know, like obviously to an extent, but like it does feel like if you're making this kind of design,
Yeah.
it does kind of feel like the one where, you know, maybe squeezing yourself into a sample isn't the most relevant part of casting.
Plus a lot of his quotes where he talks about what he's inspired about, his collection being raised around like heavily strong women
Yeah.
and of all kind of body shapes. You'd hope that it would reflect a little bit more. But then again, that could be the fashion brand side of it, and people telling him not to do what he wants to do.
Yeah, you know.
Completely authentic to him. But there are like I do really like the collection. Like I love the use of like the quilting fabric, using that with like a puffer, knee-high boot. I think that's gorgeous.
Yeah,
but then it's just a guess of like, how wearable is everything? Are you gonna would you wear that on a daily basis? I probably would, because I think it makes you look amazing. I think they look great and they're owning it. So
they
maybe
all look
that's
sick.
part of it, you know? This putting on the pieces make
Yeah.
you feel some type of way.
Yeah. I find it interesting when I look at like his show as like, it's like he's done well in his hustle, because you do look at pieces and want to kind of buy them.
Yeah.
Whereas like other shows like that I'd look at that like where I'd find like super inspiring or like, you know, super arty. I wouldn't want to buy them. But like I want to like,
I want to wear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's doing both now.
yeah.
I mean, I don't think, no, to be really honest, no. But everybody deserves a break. I think his client is an American who likes videos, who wants to be a video star or a rap singer or that sort of person who wants to go to the club and stand out and be the hottest girl in the room. She is definitely not a girl who really cares that much about line and design, and I'm being absolutely honest. That's a different customer, but that is the American customer. Which is probably why I no longer live in America. It's okay. But I also think if you are going to do sexy and bring sexy on the catwalk, there should definitely be a lot more alternatives to it as well. And to me, this just, I guess, accompanies the ratchet girl. You know, the girl that goes out with the rapper, that needs to get photographed and pull the guy in the room. And, you know, America, that's 90% of the customer. 90%. So I'm not mad at his hustle. I just cannot call this a brilliantly designed collection. I call it a smart, clever collection.
It's like you were saying earlier, isn't it, about like supply and demand? If it's like, I think it's like Instagram has really kind of changed the way that we see like a lot of things in terms of like what's desirable and stuff, because like everyone wants to be like that girl. And
Hopefully in the future, not everybody. I mean, I think there's more than the hotel and the bedroom and the pole to dance on. I think that life offers a lot more. I think you can be subtly sexy and a lot more chic. And hopefully, you know, the new generation of designers feel that we've already got LaQuan Smith, we don't need another one. This is what I'm praying and hoping for, because there's a lot of talented kids out there that will deliver what I'm saying, something a bit more slick, more well-designed, more personal, and a little bit more authentic. I hope they get the same noise and the same break that this boy's got.
That's why I really do wish there was more size inclusivity there, because it kind of does still kind of perpetuate this idea that you have to look like that to be sexy. And it's like you said, there are so many more ways, like, to be. It kind of still, like, yeah, this aesthetic has been done, it's been done, it's been done, it's been done, it's been done, but you look at, like, Tom Ford, Mugler, they've always used stick thin models, always. Yeah. So it's like, this aesthetic still hasn't been done for, like, a massive swathe of the population, like, that have been told that you can't be sexy, or you can't flaunt your flesh, or, like, you can't wear these things, like, you know, fuck a body controversy, you can't do it. And it's like, that's sad, because it's like, it feels like if we're going to be doing it again, we should be doing it differently, you know?
Hello, that's my point.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to see another dress like that. I really don't. I really don't. But that's me, as someone who loves fashion and understands the workmanship and time and effort that people have.
Or I want to see it on, like, a different model. Which I guess it is, because it was, like, in terms of diversity, like, he's killing it in terms of casting, in terms of, like, race and diversity, but, like, it does still bother me that, like, size and inclusivity feels like the final frontier.
100%.
I think especially when, like, you know, the way he goes about his business and, like, he's a business savvy guy, you think he'd, you know, pop a few more different figure girls in the show. I mean, I don't know, that might not have been his choice, obviously. I don't know what happened there, but
I feel like that should be something you should then push.
yeah.
You know? Like, come on, you've got one, but you can't just have one, because then it's like, oh, okay, we've checked the quota.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a
It needs to be
checkbox.
authentic.
Yeah, it can't be inclusive if it's
infiltrated throughout the collection.
Yeah.
Does the more authentic designer get the same break as this boy has? Does he?
No.
Does he have a chance? And this is a conversation. Does he have a chance? I'm looking at the clothes. This, I'm just trying to see how the pattern worked out to get this, and to get the praise it's probably getting. I'm just saying. He probably has the potential. I just don't know where that potential is going. Hopefully, it will resemble some of his first collections, because at least he took a lot more chances. These are just this is a complete YSL silhouette. Come on, with a Kanye West boot. Let's be real. Like, okay, that inspiration was cute. I love the sweatshirt. I love, you know, the way she's wearing it. Yes, I'm hot, but I'm still casual. Well, come on, we saw it for the past 3 seasons. So whoever's working with him is evidently not looking online or going into the shops to see what they have, or they are and say, I'll do it and put my name on it. There's a pro and con to everything.
And there is still that conversation to be had to think about, like, the barriers to access and the industry in general. Because it's like, even that idea of, like, if you haven't gone to fashion school or whatever, that's why I think it is sick that he is self-taught, and, like, it will kind of open barriers, because he is telling people that would maybe thought, I can't do this, that they can do it. But it's like, the industry itself is still so nepotistic, and it does make me kind of question, like, who, like, rises to the top, you know? But again, it ties into, like, what sells and stuff, and, like, if you want to sell a certain aesthetic, like, a lot of people just won't buy.
Well, he might have a problem because, like I said, there's Fashion Nova, there's Pretty Little Things.
Yeah.
And if you're going to get something similar to this that's cheaper, they're going to buy it. So you have to stop and think, what are you really going to produce?
Yeah, and it goes back to that thing of, as well, like, all the talented designers that don't get shine. Like, it kind of makes me sad, like, especially when you go to graduate fashion weeks and stuff, or you go to, like, do you know the Mercedes-Benz fashion weeks? Because they're kind of popping up, like, across the world, essentially. And it's like, you've got, like, Lagos Fashion Week, and you've got, like, Tbilisi Fashion Week, and you see all these incredible designers, and you're like, where's your spotlight? Like,
Amazing. what you're seeing. I mean, I hope that he is allowed to nurture himself. Being self-taught and being told you cannot go to a fashion college can be really disheartening.
Yeah.
And it can make you feel that there's no way out. There's also a reason why you're not accepted. That means you have to go back and do the work and come back again until you've done a good enough job. Because then there's arrogance in that as well. Who are you? Everybody else is working hard. Everybody else has to come up with something a bit more original to get into the college. You just don't take no for an answer and say, all right, I'm just going to do this. And then come up with something that people are seeing. So just saying, if you stop and realize why you might have been turned down, that means you got to go back to the drawing board and come through with something more fresh. You just do, because the competition's going to get crazy. You know, he probably felt he had a chance because of the whole pole dancing ratchet fashion explosion that's been happening, unfortunately, for the past 4 years. And what can one do? They think, well, oh, I can do that too. I could do it slicker. I worked for Tom Ford. I understand how to portray it much better than that, and which he's done.
That's kind of a weird thing as well, that like the whole thing, like for example, like sex workers are consistently killing it, and like there were so many like conversations to be had around like decriminalization and like.
To me, that gives me, you know, just a little bit more of where he can start. But after a couple of seasons, I'm going to expect some moves.
Yeah, of course.
Also, if it's like when people kind of want to profit from aesthetic, like you have like the whole hustlers conversation, which is sick because you have like sex workers in a film that's huge. But it's like also then it needs to extend to like politics. Like you need to represent people, but you also have to ask what they actually want and what they're asking for.
Yeah.
Like, because fashion can really be a vehicle for that, you know? Like we talk about.
See, this collection, there, you know, there's a vibe going on. There's something going on. There's something going on. It's ratchet, but there's something going on there. And that's when I began to think, right, this guy's interesting. Because I didn't see that in the shop floors. I haven't seen that really like that in another collection. And then all these collections later, I see bits of everybody else's collection, kind of.
Do you think that is just kind of like needing to sustain a brand there? Do you think it is kind of like needing to do what's
the money. I guess they have to.
He has the potential. We just don't know what they're putting him against and putting him up against in New York, and how over there it's all about fast fashion and big business. It's not really about talent. Just saying.
Yeah, even like in fashion education and stuff, it's like there is no real like objective way to critique like someone's, you know, potential. As this kind of shows, if it's like you can get kicked out of fashion school, or get like rejected from fashion school and still be talked about.
Like I said, I'm not mad at.
That's what I respect about it. That he didn't go to this college or fashion school, whatever it may be, and he's managed to build such a big name that we're sitting here speaking about him now, which I find quite inspiring. That's what, personally, I mean, I understand what you mean by the clothes could be much more, but maybe it's just a period in his career where he wants to step back and go, let me find out, I've got to this level, I want to find out who I am and what I want to do now. And that gives him a bit of breathing space that might push him on.
Yeah, his path's definitely inspiring. He showed like people that you know, it's not just one pathway to like, you know, getting into fashion and becoming like successful. I didn't go to fashion uni. Like I don't think that, you know, it's a necessary thing. But
well, the question is, what is a successful brand today? Does it mean that you have to have the talent as Lee McQueen did, or you just have to know what's on trend and just do it? Put your name on it, set it out there, it will sell.
I think that's the argument.
And you could pretend to be this amazing artist and completely get away with it, which is quite fabulous at the same time.
There's an art to that, I suppose.
Yeah, there's an art to it's a game. And, you know, he's playing a very smart game. And he's attractive.
Yeah.
And, you know, it helps.
I mean, he caught my attention, as I said, through Instagram, and I'm a guy that I don't buy women's clothes.
Yeah.
It drew my attention to, wow, it looks like a powerful, sexy woman, and it drew me to follow him. So, and I'm completely the opposite to anything that probably anyone that follows him anyway. So he's doing something right, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's New York. New York is power. They don't. They constantly bring in people from London, from Paris, and from Italy on their design teams because they don't really push themselves creatively. I'm a native New Yorker, and I know that for sure. And the reason why I came here, because I couldn't even be accepted in New York at that age. I was at a very young age, because I was just too different. I didn't look like everybody else. So New York turns out things that are easily understandable and for the masses. And he's definitely a success on that note.
Yep.
I guess it goes back to like how you quantify success, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah.
because like all the people that like fashion industry people like really revere are never the ones that like, you know, there were all these kind of like, even if you look at the Antwerp Six and stuff and like all these kind of people that have really got that like cult status, they never kind of like were lighting the commercial world on fire. Like they did incredibly well, but like they were never like selling millions and millions and millions and being bought by luxury conglomerates. So I think there's still definitely space for that, but he will occupy that space, I think. Like he'll get bought out, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to ask you a question. If he did this show in Paris, would anybody stand up?
No.
No, I don't think so.
But I think that's
If he did this show in London, would anybody stand up?
I think it was best being shown in New York because I think the people, even like the people that he had in the audience, that's all going to amplify to the context. He had rappers like A$AP Ferg.
Yeah.
He had those people who are part of his community who have come here to support him. So I think that's something that's only going to help drive the brand. If it was shown in a completely different context, I don't know if it would have as much of an impact.
Well, we can see here, darling, the only thing that's missing is the pole. Completely.
I think
And I'm not mad
Yeah.
because it's the pole dancing trend. And I guess why not jump on it if it's going to make you all the paper you need? And you know, he might need that paper then to, you know, be able to do collections that he really wants to do, you know? But I just have a bit of a fear of this, that it's going on a little bit too long and it's going to stifle creativity coming out because people are going to have a fear that they won't make it, you know? I think longevity happens in a brand when they take their time, not when they try to jump the line and make too much money quickly and then burn out. Because after this, what are you going to do? You better come up with something fabulous. You better come up with something brand new because you can't do this again because it will already be on the shelves as it is now.
Yeah. He has done stuff in the past. I think that's what gives me kind of like hope that some of his past collections have been a bit more like, oh, like, it's like you said, I guess, I do think it is a case of like he does have potential. And I don't think he will do, I hope he doesn't do this again. Not that this isn't sick, because it is, but it's like, it's not, you know.
Also, people have a fear of talking about a black designer. I'm sitting here, I can talk all day about it because I understand what they will go through. I understand the negativity they receive. I also understand the box they're put into constantly. Unfortunately, he's exactly in that box they want him to be in. The box of the guy who makes the clothes for the girl on the pole. And that's something I think we start to think, wow, we need to defy that as well. We do more than pole dancing, we do more than have sex.
Oh, but it ties into the way the fashion was
We
about,
do
like,
more than become a rapper's girlfriend. So there's more to life than that.
like even when Virgil recently did that whole statement about being like, I'm sick of being, because it was like Virgil, it was Shane, it was like the black, like edgy designers that were grouped into this like urban label. And it's like fashion critique never really goes any further than that. It's just like, oh, here's the urban designer. And that's why Virgil made a statement against it by doing like,
That was important.
Like, yeah.
That was really important. And his latest Off-White show was great because it showed the depth of a man's life as a black man in society. That what you go through, the pain as well as the exhilaration. These are positive messages. And I'm sorry if someone doesn't get rid of that pole soon, we are going to drown in it. And no one's going to be able to expect anything more from a black designer. And I feel this is really important, just as a black woman from Brooklyn. No, we have this mini dress already. with that boot. We have it. And didn't Off-White do that jacket? I'm just saying. In a very similar manner. But anyway, maybe that was his inspiration.
Maybe. And that's the thing of it, it's like there are enough white designers out there churning out the same thing as well.
Yeah.
It's just like, I think
Sure.
people, yeah, it is that thing of it's like some people in the industry get to be complacent and not get critiques and others don't. And that's where the whole conversation around diversity kind of ties into it. It's like people just kind of think, well, you know, we don't really want to critique it, but ultimately critique is constructive because it's going to help designers develop and stuff. And that's the thing of it's like, there is really incredible potential here, so people can't really be afraid to talk about it because it does nobody any favors, you know? But that's like a fashion industry problem in general.
What do you feel is the best thing you can get from what he's done in this collection? As far as an inspiration or as far as understanding how business works within the fashion industry?
I mean, I guess I'd just go back to the whole thing of like Dapper Dan and like so many black artists got ripped off for their creativity. And it's like, here's actually a black artist who's profiting from what he's doing and he's killing it. So that in itself makes a statement. Like a lot of white people want to profit from blackness.
Lots of different angles. Business, I get inspired by the business side of it and also the creativity behind it too. But it's like maybe it needs to be that way for him. It might be too much risk involved behind the scenes that we don't know about to go completely. You know, if he done a really inspiring collection but didn't sell, then he's
Very
no one
important.
again, and no one seems to care about him next season. So we might be trying to maintain a steady level until we can take a bigger risk. I don't know, but
Very important. Yeah, that's important. It's true. And, you know, we don't know if he has backers that are on his case. And, you know, nobody ever knows what goes on behind closed doors. Everybody still has to be accountable to a certain degree. You know, we all have to be accountable when we're just churning out things that are already there. But at least the presentation, I have to say, is flawless. It's a flawless presentation, from casting to styling to, you know, the way it's coming through. And of course he's going to feel incredibly amazing after this show. Because it's going to sell. I just don't know how long it will last like this. And we have to think of the future.
we might adapt to the future. Maybe it might change from
Yeah, you think?
from pole to something else.
At the moment, the pole is really when we're wearing thin. I mean, I think after J-Lo got on the pole, I think that was it. She did it fabulously. Anyway, I don't really know much more to say about this brand and LaQuan, but I wish him good luck. You know, I think he does have potential, and he really needs to watch what's already on the shelves. He really needs to see what's on the online shops. He needs to understand what the high street is already delivering, and know that, you know, you're gonna have to step up your game just a little bit more, really, because I keep on looking at the clothes, and I've seen all of them. So, you know, at least he's giving it to someone with a great name on the label, if that makes them feel better as a consumer. Is there anything else anyone would like to say?
I'm good.
Well, good.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Well, I would like to thank all of the panels and thank all of you that are watching. For more extensive Fashion Week coverage, be sure to visit SHOWstudio.com. And if you're watching via Show Studios YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe below. And we will see you next time.